The following is a transcript of a conversation between Matías De Stefano, referred to as me, and his higher self, referred to as I am. 16th of May, 2021. Sculpture. Me. Human. I am. Humus. Wet earth, clayey mud. Born from the inner springs of the earth and the rainwater, creating rivers of mud that the gods shaped into form. Me. Molded by divine hands in the image and likeness. Yesterday I tried to make something out of mud, but it was difficult. I am. Why? Me. It's the first time I've used it, and I wasn't inspired, so I made a kind of casing to put a candle in. Maybe I don't have the patience to work with clay. I am. It's not a matter of patience, it's a matter of inspiration. And inspiration is the essence of the spirit, which breathes, and therefore reminds you of your manifesting capacity. Me. So I was not attached to my spirit. I am. You were preoccupied with other things that took you out of your being. Organizational things that do not allow you to express yourself. Let them go and see yourself in the mud. Me? Why the mud? Why is creation there? I am. Every day you water the pots where the seeds are. Every day you see them grow, take shape. You watch the stems spread, the leaves follow the sunlight. With the water that wets the soil, you see the mud make and the plants swell, strengthened, powerful. When the ancients saw the tiny seeds growing in the mud, in the union of water and earth, they could understand where life came from. For plants give food to animals and so to humans. That which makes us, that which gives us food, that which gives us material for the home, for building pots, bricks, cookers, food, that which sustains all life on earth, must inevitably be our origin as well, for in a way, we are mud. Me. From that mud, this mud, I am. And all agreed on this, even for the most ancient, even the gods did not escape this logic. Me. Were the gods made of mud? I am. At least with a much cleaner and subtler clay. In Babylonian mythology, nothing could exist without a name, and two of the forces that did possess a name were fresh water, Apsu, and salt water, Tiamat. Together they joined together to create the gods, who joined together to beget new gods, their sons and daughters. Among the gods born of the waters were the primeval sky, Ansar, and the primeval earth, Kisar. Both gave birth to earth and heaven as we know them, whom we call Ki and Anu. Heaven, Anu, joined with Ki to beget their children, Na, who populated the world. The sons of Anu and Ki, called Anunnaki, had the mission to create all living creatures led by their firstborn son, Enki, meaning Lord of the Earth. Together with his brother Enlil, Lord of the Wind, they gave birth to the attributes of arts and agriculture. For while the former was the ruler of the waters and the rivers, the latter was the creator of storms, ruler of the weather. Enki urged his sons to follow his task of creation, and so Marduk, Amar Utu, the calf of the sun, together with his father, created humans. I will knead blood and make bones. I will create a wild creature. He will be called man. He will have to be in the service of the gods, so that they may live without care. From the poem Enuma Elish, joining his blood with clay, he molded the first humans. Me. The Anunnaki, they are those aliens who created us, the ones we all talk about, aren't they? I am. Well, you need to look at the story objectively. There were aliens involved, yes. They came from other planes, yes. But they did not do what the Anunnaki stories tell. The strange thing about the new spirituality is to deny what the Bible says and believe what the Enuma Elish says. It's like if 6,000 years from now someone finds a Marvel movie and believes that Chris Hemsworth was really Thor and that there were superheroes in the 21st century. Just because he's in a movie and he's flesh and blood doesn't mean he has those powers for real. It means he exists, but his qualities are exalted for a purpose. It was the same with many of the ancient gods who were not gods and didn't have superpowers, but attributed those powers to themselves. And because there were no films at the time, they were translated into poems. Me, I understand. I mean, giving themselves powers was related to having power. I am. And that's what Marduk did with humans, condemning them to work for them by calling himself their creator, giver of arts and agriculture along with his father. But alas, this is only one story from one region of the world. What will strike you is that all people speak of the same story, told in different ways. And that is why you should not take the Mesopotamian story literally, but put together the key that unites it with the others, beings of the natural elements who create mankind out of clay. Me. What other stories? I am. Ra, the spirit of light, tired of being alone, took a deep breath, and in his breath created Shu, the wind. And from the saliva that emerged from the breath, Tefnut, this moisture, was born, making them live in the other popularity of Nun, the cosmos. Ra decided to generate a place where he could sit and contemplate, and made a dry space emerging between the waters from which he had emerged, creating together with Shu and Tefnut 2 sons, Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. Walking for Geb, he laid out a path along which to move freely, for he was born of the waters, and this path was a river, the Nile. Geb and Nut loved each other deeply, uniting with no space between them. Because of this, Amon-Ra, seeking to create life, decided to ask Shu to separate their children in constant copulation. And since then, the wind circulates between heaven and earth, and their children, the stars. Ra sent one of his eyes to contemplate what was happening, but when he returned, another eye had taken its place, so he collapsed in tears. From his tears came the creators of life, and this eye was rewarded by being placed on Ra's forehead, giving rise to the sun. One of the gods that emerged from these tears and the earth was Khnum, who was in Egyptian mythology is the potter god, the creator god. With the head of a ram, he is the one who modeled all the forms of this world. This is how he made the human, among many other things, until one day he was exhausted, and he decided to break his pottery by distributing it in pieces to all the women he had created. I want to give you the body of a goddess. You will be perfect like all the gods, and you will receive from me happiness and health, and the crowns of both countries, and you will be at the summit of all living beings. Me. They arise from almost the same thing, this time directly giving the creative power to women. I am. The Greeks also had their creator, Prometheus, foresight, who had the courage to challenge the gods and not abide by their laws and intentions. Free of spirit, he roamed the created world, seeing that there was no being in creation capable of harboring the spirit of a god. Then he took clay from the banks of the rivers and molded the human. He asked all the animals to give him their various qualities and defects and place them in the heart of this creature. And by closing it, human life came into being. The same is true of Asian and Amerindian mythology. In China, the dragon goddess Nua, feeling lonely, took the mud from the Yellow River and designed humans in her image, but with legs so that they could walk. In the Popol Vuh, the community book of the Mayan people, it is narrated that the human origin was also made of mud, although it fell apart, so they chose to rebuild it with a mixture of mud, wood, and corn. Me. A lot of mud. I am. And of course, the Assyrian, Akkadian, Sumerian, and Judeo-Christian creation myth, the first man, Adam, was made of clay, in the image and likeness of God, which gave him his name, Adama, meaning red earth. Me. For most Asian peoples, clay was the human origin, but clearly we are not made of clay. So the idea basically relates to what we once talked about. Seeds, agriculture, early humans covering themselves in clay to protect themselves from predators, to not emit odor, nor be bitten by insects. I am. As always, Everything is based on a simple logic that goes beyond the magical. The magical story, the narrative, the stories, tales, legends, myths are nothing more than a literary description of the mundane events that mobilize cultures to believe, to desire, to awaken their worship or will, and above all to recognize that the world possesses the basic materials for creation. And if the gods gave us their creative spirit, it means that we can do the same. Me. To mold reality, create. I am. From mud, clay, the union of water and earth, early humans developed something much more profound than making a pot, molding their imagination. Before they discovered the work potential, the tool potential that clay offered them for their daily lives, clay was an instrument of play that allowed them to mold something without form, to give it a spirit. When they saw that they could design the face, the body of a person, of an animal, from clay, they understood everything. The gods must have created us in this way. Me. Oh, now I understand. It's not that the gods made us out of clay. It was us who, when we discovered that we were able to design a human image out of clay, we understood that it was the most logical way to create a person. I am. You got it. We created the stories based on what we saw, what we were able to do. Seeing clay, taking a piece and designing a figure, is the most ancient and rudimentary art of humans living in caves and forests. The oldest recorded figures discovered in history are of women with a prominent figure, chubby or pregnant, symbol of fertility, prosperity, and well-being. Every human family used to have one in their cave as a symbol of creation. Me, like the Venus of Willendorf, one of the oldest Venuses in the world. I am. Since the Paleolithic, clay and mud statuettes symbolize the prosperity of manifestation, making with the hands, fire baked the clay into stone, making it eternal. The human put his spirit into it, gave it life in a certain form. Thus arose one of the most amazing fine arts. Me, sculpture. I am. Sculpture comes from the Indo-European skull, meaning to cut, which derived to the Latin sculpere, being to carve, to tear, and which originates the word sculpt. Sculpture is the result of sculpting, the art of taking a material and giving it shape, of tearing it, removing the extra to give it the expected form. From prehistoric times with clay, the techniques were perfected through pottery, then in construction, and finally developed as a method of capturing poetry through forms. Sculptures can be divided into different types, the most famous being statues and statuettes, representing a complete figure of a being, whether human or animal. But one of the most commonly seen in the ancient world were the so-called relief sculptures, being either low relief when the figure is carved into the rock, or high relief when the background is carved, leaving the image protruding. Both types are seen in many cultures of the Americas, Egypt, the Middle East, and Asia, especially in the latter three territories in Europe. Complete sculpture was also developed in other types of materials, more complex to work with, starting with plaster, but continuing with alabaster, granite, marble, stucco, and metal. By being able to add material, to remove, as well as to cast, sculpture made it possible to show the human ability to be gods, giving life to something inert, inorganic, something that seemed dead. Me. I saw an angel in the marble, and I sculpted until I set him free, said Michelangelo when he made the David. Are we the creators, or are we really the ones who discover what is in the material? I am. Divinity is in all things, in every atom, and nothing is really dead, but dormant. Life exists in the mind, and discovery is mutual, that is, between the observer and the observed. As we saw in quantum science, a reality does not manifest until it is observed, and it is the observed that defines the observer. The relationship is mutual, and therefore when you sculpt, draw, write, you manifest in matter the potential that matter has in relation to your inner self. Me. So in discovering the world hidden before our eyes, we only discover ourselves. I am. The art of sculpture has a very deep metaphor to give us. It is the ability to mold ourselves, to touch our imagination and inner world. The ability to sculpt the structural and inert forms that cover our souls until we find the essence, to free the angel. Me. The process of life, personal growth, can be seen as a sculptural process as we try to free ourselves from the oppression of the rock, of the structures, of the beliefs, of the patterns, in order to discover the hidden softness, the beauty that dwells within us. I am. Or also to add new parts, to fuse new elements with old ones, to add clay for certain arrangements. Me. I think I'll start again with the new sculpture, this time knowing this. I am. We are water and earth. The fire within grounds us, and the air dries our skin, giving firmness. We are the perfect sculpture of the minerals of creation. We are clay with soul, the product of the same minerals that created the mountains, of the same silica of the quartz and granites, of the same salts of the muds, of the same waters of the clay. We have in us all the foundations of the mineral world that has molded us into life itself. It is our task to continue its art and to transform it into eternal beauty. Me. Sculpting both body, soul, and spirit. I am. You are a work of art. Live as such. Admire yourself as such. Me. Made in the image and likeness. I am. Of a universe based on minerals. Me. I am the rock. I am. And I am the chisel.